Most boat owners eventually move on. They buy something bigger, something newer, or something that seems better suited to the next chapter of their lives. In boating, upgrading is almost expected. People spend years searching for the perfect boat, only to discover that their needs continue to change. But every once in a while, a boat comes along that breaks that pattern. A boat that owners keep for 10 years, 20 years, sometimes even longer. These are the boats that rarely appear on the market, and when they do, they often attract attention almost immediately, not because they're the newest, not because they're the most expensive, but because the people who own them simply don't want to let them go. That raises an interesting question: what makes a boat worth keeping forever? Today, we're looking at 7 boats that have earned a reputation for creating incredibly loyal owners. Boats that people hold on to for years, sometimes decades, because replacing them never seems to make sense. Before we begin, I'm curious, if you could own just one boat for the rest of your life, what would it be? Let me know in the comments. And if you enjoy practical boats and real-world ownership stories, subscribe to the channel. Because the first thing we need to understand is that the boats people keep the longest are rarely the boats that look the most impressive at a boat show. In fact, they're often the opposite. They're dependable, predictable, comfortable. They do exactly what their owners need them to do year after year. And eventually, something interesting happens. The owner stops looking for the next boat. The search simply ends. That's a powerful thing in a hobby where many people are constantly thinking about upgrades, which brings us to the first boat on today's list, the Rosboro RF246. At first glance, the Rosboro doesn't look like a boat designed to inspire lifelong loyalty. It's practical, compact, purpose-built, and far less flashy than many modern cruisers. But that's exactly the point. The Rosboro was designed around function rather than appearance. Its enclosed pilot house, practical layout, and all-weather capability make it incredibly useful for owners who actually spend time on the water. And usefulness creates attachment, because when a boat consistently performs well, owners stop thinking about what they're missing and start appreciating what they have. Many Rosboro owners describe the boat using the same words again and again: reliable, simple, dependable. Those words may not sound exciting, but they're often the reason people keep a boat for years longer than expected. The Rosboro isn't trying to be everything, it's simply trying to do its job well. And for many owners, that's more than enough. The next boat on our list follows a similar philosophy, but it has developed something close to a cult following among people who have owned one. The next boat on our list is the Kamano 31. If you've ever spoken with Kamano owners, you've probably noticed something unusual. Many of them aren't interested in replacing their boat. In fact, quite a few seem genuinely puzzled by the idea. That's because the Kamano was designed around practicality rather than trends. It isn't trying to impress people with size. It isn't trying to compete with luxury yachts. Instead, it focuses on something much simpler: making ownership easy. The Kamano developed a strong reputation for fuel efficiency, manageable operating costs, and a layout that works surprisingly well for real-world cruising. And over time, those qualities become more valuable than many owners initially expect, because after years of boating, priorities often change. People stop chasing the biggest boat. They stop worrying about impressing others, and they begin appreciating things like simplicity, reliability, and affordability. That's exactly where the Kamano shines. It's large enough to be comfortable, small enough to remain manageable, and practical enough to avoid becoming a burden. Many owners eventually reach a point where they ask themselves a simple question: what would I gain by upgrading? And surprisingly often, the answer isn't much. That's one reason Kamanos tend to develop such loyal followings. Owners aren't constantly dreaming about the next boat. They're busy enjoying the one they already have. The next boat on our list creates attachment for a completely different reason: the Monk 36. Some boats feel like machines. Others feel like homes. The Monk 36 falls firmly into the second category. From the moment many people step aboard, they notice something difficult to measure: character, the classic lines, the warm interior, the traditional layout. Everything about the boat feels inviting, and that's a big reason why owners become emotionally attached to them, because unlike performance statistics or equipment lists, emotional attachment grows stronger over time. A boat becomes part of family memories, part of vacations, part of important moments. Eventually, it becomes much more than fiberglass and engines. It becomes familiar, and familiarity has value. The Monk also benefits from a reputation for comfortable cruising and practical design. It's the kind of boat that encourages owners to slow down and enjoy the journey rather than constantly focusing on the destination. That may sound simple, but it's surprisingly rare. Many boats create excitement, far fewer create contentment, and contentment is often what keeps a boat in the same family for years, sometimes even generations. Owners often describe the Monk using words like timeless, comfortable, and welcoming. Those aren't the words people typically use when discussing the newest boats on the market, but they are exactly the kinds of qualities that make people reluctant to sell. Because once a boat starts feeling like home, replacing it becomes much harder than expected. And the next boat on our list has developed one of the most loyal owner communities in the boating world. The next boat on our list is the American Tug 34. If there's one thing that stands out about American tug owners, it's how rarely they seem interested in changing boats. That's not because the American Tug is perfect. No boat is, but it manages to deliver something that many owners spend years searching for: balance. It's comfortable without being oversized, capable without being complicated, and practical without feeling basic. That combination is surprisingly difficult to achieve. Many boats excel in one area while sacrificing another. The American Tug has earned its reputation by avoiding extreme compromises. Owners often talk about confidence, not confidence in rough weather, not confidence in speed, but confidence in ownership, the feeling that the boat can handle whatever kind of cruising they enjoy without constantly demanding attention. And that's important because the longer people own boats, the more they appreciate simplicity. Eventually, most owners stop caring about having the biggest vessel at the marina. They start caring about how often they actually use it. A boat that's easy to own often becomes a boat that's difficult to replace, and that's exactly what happened with the American Tug. Many owners discover that upgrading doesn't necessarily improve their experience. It simply makes things different. And once someone reaches that conclusion, selling becomes much less attractive. Our next boat creates loyalty for another reason entirely: the Back Cove 37. Unlike some boats that earn admiration through toughness or capability, the Back Cove often earns it through refinement. Everything feels well thought out: the layout, the finish quality, the comfort, the overall ownership experience. Owners frequently describe these boats as being easy to live with, and that's a bigger compliment than many people realize, because boating is supposed to be enjoyable. A boat that constantly creates problems eventually becomes stressful. A boat that quietly does its job becomes something people want to keep. The Back Cove developed a reputation for exactly that. It isn't trying to be the fastest boat on the water. It isn't trying to cross oceans. Instead, it focuses on creating a boating experience that owners genuinely enjoy year after year. And that strategy has worked remarkably well. Many Back Cove owners remain loyal to the brand for decades. Some upgrade to larger Back Coves. Others simply keep the one they already have. Either way, they often stay within the same family of boats. And that level of loyalty doesn't happen by accident. It happens when a boat consistently exceeds expectations over a long period of time. By now, you may have noticed a pattern. The boats people keep forever aren't necessarily the most impressive. They're the boats that fit naturally into their lives. Which brings up an interesting question. Have you ever sold something and regretted it later? Maybe a boat, maybe a car, maybe even a house. Let me know in the comments. And if you're enjoying the video, don't forget to subscribe, because the final two boats on our list are perhaps the strongest examples yet of owners refusing to let go. One is known for exceptional craftsmanship. The other has become something close to a lifelong destination for many boaters. The next boat on our list is the Sabre 42. Some boats earn loyal owners through simplicity, others earn loyalty through capability. The Sabre 42 earns it through quality. From the moment most people step aboard, it's obvious that a great deal of attention went into the details. The craftsmanship, the finish quality, and the overall feel of the boat immediately set it apart from many competitors. But beautiful woodwork and attractive interiors are only part of the story. What truly keeps owners attached to a Sabre is the ownership experience. The boat feels refined, thoughtful, well-engineered, and those qualities become increasingly important over time because eventually, owners stop noticing individual features. Instead, they notice how the boat makes them feel. Does it create frustration, or does it make every trip easier? The Sabre built its reputation on the second option. Owners often describe these boats as timeless, not because they never age, but because they avoid chasing trends that quickly become outdated. That's one reason many older Sabres still feel relevant decades after they were launched. Good design tends to age gracefully. And when owners find a boat that continues meeting their needs year after year, the desire to replace it begins to disappear. That's exactly why so many Sabres remain in the hands of long-term owners. But if there is one boat that perfectly represents today's topic, it's our final entry, the Fleming 55. Among experienced boaters, the Fleming has earned a reputation that very few boats ever achieve. It's often described as a forever boat, not because owners can't afford something else, not because there aren't newer options available, but because many owners simply stop looking. The search ends, and that's perhaps the highest compliment any boat can receive. The Fleming 55 combines quality construction, practical design, comfort, and long-range capability in a way that feels remarkably complete. Owners frequently talk about the boat's attention to detail, the fit and finish, the engineering, the overall sense that everything was designed with longevity in mind. And unlike many boats that create excitement when they're new, the Fleming tends to create satisfaction that lasts for years. That's a very different thing. Excitement fades, satisfaction remains. Many owners who eventually sell a Fleming often say something interesting. They spend years trying to find a replacement, and many never find one they like better. That's why these boats rarely stay on the market for long. They're not just respected, they're trusted, and trust is incredibly difficult to earn. After looking at all 7 boats on today's list, one thing becomes clear. People don't keep boats forever because they're perfect. No boat is. They keep them because those boats fit their lives so well that replacing them simply doesn't seem worthwhile. The boat becomes familiar, reliable, comfortable, a trusted companion rather than just another possession. And that's why some boats stay in families for decades. Not because owners can't move on, but because they don't want to. So now I'm curious, which boat from today's list would you keep forever? Let me know in the comments. And if you enjoy practical boats, real-world ownership stories, and cruising lifestyles, don't forget to subscribe. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.